Adam Duritz of Counting Crows.
Adam, how are you, man?
I am good. Let's turn all this off.
Well, if it's anybody cool, you can leave it on and we'll play phone roulette. And if somebody cool calls, you can just answer it.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah. How you been?
I'm pretty good.
You're here for a couple reasons. One, I have a Mount Rushmore of my favorite people in the world who I haven't met. And it is David Letterman. It is Steve Martin. It's Howard Stern and Adam Duritz. So 3 remain, but you check it off my list now.
I've got all of those except for Steve Martin.
You haven't met Steve Martin?
No. Seen him, but...
I've seen you on Letterman a bunch of times. Did you guys have a close relationship?
He's a really shy guy. He would come up and talk to me when we were on the show, and then he would say something like, "Hey, I'm really glad you're here. It's really nice to have you." And then he'd walk off, and that's the first time we were on the show. He came up and did that. I was sitting in the audience watching, and he came behind me, and then this crew guy walks by and goes, "Wow, man, he's got to really love you. He won't talk to anybody."
Oh, that was a lot.
Yeah, but he was always really nice. He just seems very shy, and I'm not great at like the social thing either. So,
yeah, I'm very awkward when I don't have to be on. Like if I'm doing stand up or doing this show, I'm a lot. But then when I'm not, I feel very just wallflower type because I feel like why would anybody want to hang out with me if I'm not doing what I'm celebrated at? So at times they're like, "Man, you're so odd," or I have like social anxiety at times. But same situation it sounds like with you, as you're like a front man of this major band that sold millions and millions of records. But then are you like that when you're just in public as well?
I mean, I'm still me, but I mean, the thing about being on stage is that's kind of where I'm supposed to be. I'm most comfortable there because I know what I'm doing, and I kind of feel like I was born to do that. So when I'm on stage, I'm really comfortable because I'm doing the thing I'm best in life at. Whereas, hanging out talking to people, it's not as easy. Yeah, I still wish I'd hung out with Steve Martin. Howard, I've known for 30 years. Howard, I've known forever.
Like know him?
Yeah.
You like him?
Oh, Howard's fantastic. He's a great guy.
Is he like that too? Seems like he on air, he's big and bold, and then off air, he's just like normal and
yeah, he's
quiet.
A lot shyer in real life too. But he's also like, he's funny. He's still himself. I met because a friend of mine runs this whole kind of physical medicine center, kind of a gym thing in New York, and so I always went there to work out, and Howard did too. So we had this 11 a.m. kind of workout group with me and him, our friend Marco Battaglia, who was playing for the Bengals then. He was a tight end for the Bengals, and Matt Schneider, who was playing. He was a defenseman for the Rangers, and the 4 of us would all work out with our friend Pat.
Same weights?
No, different weights.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I had the big ones. Marco couldn't keep up.
For the stage for you, when did that become? You said you're good at it. Were you naturally drawn to the stage to be a performer? Were you performing at 7, 8, 9 years old?
Yeah, it might have been showing off at home, but no, not really. We were just talking about this in there because one of our managers worked for Kiss for a while, and I realized I'd never told my tour manager. He's been my tour manager since 1994, but when I was a kid, I had Destroyer, the Kiss record, and at one point I sang Beth to some girls behind Hebrew school, and the response was good. It was a very good response, and I thought, oh yeah, this is probably good for me. And I started a band right after that, like I was 13, I guess, with some friends, but it was Kiss and Beth. That's my first thing. I sang that to some girls behind Hebrew school, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is really good.
Wait, you're just back there and you just start singing to them, like, just how does that come about?
Yeah, I don't remember. Was good. I was 12, 13, okay. But at some point, it really somehow I managed to work my way into it, and the response was overwhelmingly positive, and not just like, oh, that's good, but this is a good thing to do in front of girls,
and they like it.
Yeah, is all you really need in life is find something really good to do in front of girls, and then life will pay off.
Yeah, I'm still looking for that whatever it is that I do that's cool. So with you and a lot of my friends that have been successful in music, they kind of went through different phases musically. Like I have one friend who's massive in country music now, but he was in like a metal band for a long time. And so he had went through all these different seasons, we'll call them that. Did you do that as a teenager, late teens, early 20s? Did you do music that wasn't really what we know you for now? Like were you ever in a thrash band?
No, but funk bands. But I don't know if they were funk bands. We just played a lot of different music. I grew up growing up in Oakland and Berkeley, we had some really good FM radio stations, KSAN especially, and they played kind of everything. You could be listening to the Stones and then the Sex Pistols and then Willie Nelson and then some Miles Davis song. KSAN seemed to play everything. And I just thought that's what music was like. I really just thought this is all what it's everything. And so, especially growing up in Oakland, there's a lot, P-Funk and Earth, Wind, and Fire is really big, but there's a punk scene in San Francisco too. And I just kind of listened to everything and sort of played anything. Some of the bands that played covers, we played covers by anybody. But I was never into any particular scene. I was just kind of liked music, liked playing all of it. Experimented with different kinds of stuff when I started writing finally. But it was all just kind of me.
At 16, 17 years old, did you know you wanted to do, or you could even do music as a career?
No. I didn't write my first song until freshman fall term in college. But as soon as I did that, I think a lot of life is trying to figure out who you are and what you are. You're very unformed as a kid, and basically you just do homework and try to meet girls. It's all that, it's social life and homework. But when I wrote a song, it was like a light switch clicking. I'm a songwriter. And I was 18. I'm a songwriter. That's what I do in life. And then every day, all I did was write songs.
Was that song about your sister?
It was, yeah. It was called Good Morning, Little Sister. There was a lounge across the hall from my dorm room, and there was a piano in it, and I was in some class in college. My sister was home. She was 16. It's a tough time to be a girl. And I just started writing a song about her, kind of humming it to myself and writing lyrics while I was in class. And I went back to my room and I thought, I wonder if I could figure out how to play this, because I could kind of play piano. Not
Any
really.
lessons as a kid?
I took piano lessons when I was a little kid, but I don't think I got much out of it. It was more that in that first band I was in when I was 13, the guitar player taught me how to make a major and a minor chord. And once you can do something that sounds good, you can just kind of play, sort of rudimentary. So I went back to the lounge after class and I sort of ding, 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 ding. That seemed like the note I'm singing. Tried to find a chord that went with it. It's a really simple song. Took me the rest of the afternoon. It would probably take 5 minutes to write it now, but it took the whole day. I just cut the rest of my classes. But then I sort of I wrote a song. I can play it. I can sing it. Yeah, I'm a songwriter. I realized it right then, and then all I did was write songs after that for, all the time.
So were you naturally pretty good at music, at hearing it, or were you just so driven to be good at it because you saw what the rewards could be? Where do you kind of fall on that scale?
It's more the driven thing. I'm not a good piano player. I can't play by ear at all. I got to kind of figure it out or just fumble it out. But it wasn't even so much the rewards, except the reward of this is who I am. You kind of run around in life feeling things and not knowing where to put it. Feeling like you have things to say or you have all this stuff to express, but you have no idea how to do that. Because what are you going to be in school plays? Unless you write songs, either you're in a cover band or you're in school plays or something. It didn't really seem like there was a line of expression there. But then when you write a song, it's I can take all this stuff in here and I can put it out here. It's like you turn your liquid thoughts into something solid, and suddenly it's this place where you can express yourself. And I just did it all day, every day after that. I cut class a lot, and I couldn't get out of that lounge across the hall from my room.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was a distraction once you found what seemingly is the most positive thing that you had ever found, that you loved writing music and creating music. And was that a distraction from school? And I guess it was, because that's all you focused on, or felt like you were focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, I did it all day, all the time. I just wanted to. I don't write nearly that much now, but back then I wrote like I couldn't stop. I couldn't get myself away from the piano. I just did it all day, every day. Just pumped out songs for a while there. I think it's like, you just suddenly I was defined. Like before any of my friends, I knew what I was. I mean, I fell behind again after that when they all got jobs and I had no way to I didn't know how to turn this thing into something that could actually support myself. So there's, years of landscaping and construction work and dishwashing. I worked in a video store, all through my 20s. I knew what I was before any of my friends, but I spent 10 years after that, just doing everything I could to keep going while I tried to like figure out how to make something of that.
Did you finish school?
I didn't turn in my thesis. I'm missing one paper from Berkeley.
So does that mean you're like a few hours, like credits short?
Yeah.
And why haven't you done
class.
the thesis? Why haven't you written the paper?
Well, in my,
AI. I'll write you one right now. All I got to do is get on ChatGPT and knock it out.
That's not going to work at Berkeley.
Oh,
That's the best English department in the country. They'd catch that. No, you know what? In my mind, I've kind of written several theses and they've sold briskly.
Yeah.
But
they won't let you like write the paper though for that. You don't care to have the degree?
No, I mean, look, I really respect my education. I learned to be, I was an English major there. I learned to be a writer there. It was very hard. And a lot of what I am as a songwriter comes from that. So I have a lot of appreciation for it, but I didn't turn in my thesis. So I'm not sure I should have a degree. I mean, I am sure I shouldn't because I didn't finish.
You can write it now. Lunchbox, you relate to this?
Yeah, it feels good, man. I feel like I've experienced life. So
He's short too, one credit, like one class.
And so I feel like, you know what I mean? Like we went out, we took what we learned and we made it something out of our lives. And so,
Yeah, same thing.
like really,
Yeah, no, we're in this together.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I mean, I don't really have a
Success
problem with it.
is parallel.
I feel like, there are people that did finish all their stuff and they got the degree. I have a lot of respect for my school. So, they taught me a lot, but I didn't turn in the paper. So I'm okay with not having the degree. It worked out for me. The degree's not that important. The education is. I mean, I don't think I'd be where I am without that education. And so, yeah, I have a world of appreciation for what I went through in school. I wish they could have. I did get into a situation where once you start writing songs, it's very different, the mindset, than writing essays. And the songwriting started to bleed into how I wrote essays. And I had teachers, while I'm writing these very expressive, almost semi-poetic essays, going, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you need to write me a second paper. I got several incompletes where they then demanded I have to write a second paper to explain the first paper. And that only got me in more trouble because somehow I was probably fairly obnoxious about the explanatory paper.
Did you ever almost quit music though because you had to grind it out doing all of these jobs, like, again, mowing? And that's what I had to do too. I had to do a lot of the waiting tables. Did you ever almost quit?
Yeah, after my first real like adult band, it's hard. You play with your friends, but you got to kind of argue with them. You end up fighting over a lot of stuff. It's part of being in a collaborative art form. Is a lot of fighting and disagreements, and I felt like I got really separated from all my best friends, and I got kind of turned off to sort of the reality. Like, look, when hobby is something you do for fun, like art is not fun. It's not supposed to be. It's work. But it's hard for people to realize that at first. And that's kind of something everyone who wants to be involved in art has to kind of go through, is a moment where you sort of think, at first you think, oh, well, this isn't fun anymore. And so you don't like it. And so if it's a hobby, you stop. But you have to kind of get over that hump. And I went through that after that first band, when it broke up and I sort of didn't like the taste in my mouth on it. I went to Europe backpacking and was going to try to make a break and quit playing music. And I was going to come back and get on with my life. I was about 25, I guess.
So you quit in your head, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. And I went backpacking around Europe with some friends. But the night before we left, I got together with the bass player from my old band, Marty Jones, actually, Mr. Jones. And he took me to another friend of his, who's Dave Bryson, who's I started Counting Crows with. And Dave had a studio, and we worked on some music and came up with some stuff that was really good. And then I left for the trip. It was just kind of a fun night to do it. While I was over there, Immer, our guitar player, who's been my best friend for all these years, we lived together back then. He had joined Camper Van Beethoven, and they were on. I got a letter from him that he was on tour with 10,000 Maniacs, who's huge right then. They were getting ready to play the Greek Theater in
Like
Berkeley.
Natalie Merchant.
Yeah. And I just thought, screw this, man. I can't believe he's playing the Greek Theater and touring with 10,000 Maniacs. I got to get back and start a band. And I decided to go back.
So you mentioned Marty Jones. That's Mr. Jones. You guys kind of imagining what fame is like or what celebrity is like. How long did you write that song before that actually happened?
Oh, a while. I mean, Mr. Jones is from sort of the middle version of Counting Crows. It was probably about 1990, 91, something like that.
And so did you guys write it like, man, this would be awesome, or this is going to happen? We really can see this happening to us.
Oh, no. I mean, Marty's dad, David Serva, is one of the few Americans. He had left America and gone to move to Madrid. And he's one of the few American guitar players to ever make it in the flamenco scene in Spain. He's a brilliant flamenco guitar player, and he had a huge career in Madrid, which is pretty rare. And he came back to America at one point for a visit, and he played some shows with his old flamenco troupe in the city, in the Mission, San Francisco. And so we went to see them one night, and then we all went out drinking afterwards, and we got pretty wasted. And we ended up in this one bar, the New Amsterdam on Columbus Street. And, we were sitting at the bar, and there's all these really beautiful flamenco dancers, and we're not really getting anywhere with them. And in the corner of the bar, I'm looking over, and Chris Isaac's drummer, Kenny Dale Johnson, is in the corner at this booth with like 3 girls sitting there with him. And I'm just thinking, man, we got to get our shit together, man. Because, like, if we were rock stars, it would be a lot easier to talk to women. Everything would be better, it would be kind of great. I just thought that was kind of funny, the thought of it, because, like, it's not just because of girls in a corner. You dream about things. Like, if you're going to write songs, you dream about being able to do that with your life and support yourself. And, we were spending this evening with this flamenco troupe, and David Serva, his dad, is like a famous guitar player over in Spain, and Kenny's in the corner, and it's just what we wanted to do with our lives, plus the girl thing. But it also occurred to me how silly that is. It's like nothing like that solves all your problems in life. It just doesn't work that way. It may be great for some things, but it's not going to fix who you are. And I got home at night, and I was sort of thinking about like how the whole thought process was so funny to me, and I wrote the song.
Was it one of those that fell out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, anything.
I wrote it all that night.
Anything in front of 5 hours, I was almost like falling out.
Yeah, I think most of my songs back then were probably less than 5 hours. I get real determined and just sit there and do it until it's done.
Whenever I think about me in college and those really formative years for me listening to music, I probably listened to more than any other body of music, the Across the Live Wire, you guys' live album. I mean, I could tell you, now my favorite band, Counting Crows. I can do every even spoken part of that. Some people have movies, some people, and for mine, it's that. And even at the end, I like to think Dog's Eye View, you're doing the river, but I listened to that so much that if you were to say, what's the music you listened to in those formative years that made you musically who you are today? If I ask you that question, what did you listen to so much at 18 to 22 or 23? You're like, yep, that's what reminds me of those years.
I listened to a lot of REM, YouTube probably at the time. Still probably listening to a lot of Jackson 5. That's my first record. I don't think I've really stopped listening to that. Roxy Music around then too. Jay Giles Band, P-Funk. I don't know. It's hard to remember it right at that one time. I was thinking of U2 and REM because I specifically remember there's a few things in my mind that are needle drop records where I literally remember when you put the needle on the record and how it started. And I have very clear memories of like being that freshman year in college and listening to Chronic Town, that first REM EP, and War, putting the needle down and hearing Sunday Bloody Sunday. Like I remember those two really vividly. And I remember going to the Roxy Music concert right around then, that last tour.
You ever see Jackson 5?
Yeah, that's my first concert too.
Do you
When I was a
remember it?
kid.
Or were you told a lot about it?
No, vaguely. I was probably about 6. It was a rodeo in Texas. And they played at it. I went one day and saw the Jackson 5. My sister went the next day with my parents and saw Sonny and Cher. I would
The
have
rodeo's still doing that too, by the way. Same kind of deal where it's somebody
Yeah.
different and awesome every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been happy with either one of those, but the Jackson 5, that was. I have vague memories, but I'm sure they're really mixed in with TV clips of the Jackson 5. You know, I'm sure it's not really a memory because it's a long time ago.
Now, if you get famous, there's all the social media that comes at you. And I've had different smaller-ish type events where it's just like, wow. But when you blow up in the 90s and 2000s and fame is not able to get to you through those means, how does fame get to you if you're always on the road moving around? Is it just crowds? Is it just people?
Well, it's weird. We'd been on the road for a while before it happened, really, and it had been building. You know, we played Saturday Night Live in January of '94, and we weren't even in the top 200. I mean, Mr. Jones was kind of a hit on the radio, but it wasn't making any impact anywhere. The record, like I said, it was 214 or something. But we played Saturday Night Live, and it jumped 40 spots a week for 5 weeks. And we ended up in the top, 13, then 6, and then 2 for the next 2 years or so. But I didn't really see, we were on the road on our own for a while at Christmas, and we seemed to be a kind of a hot indie band for a little bit. And then we went back to opening for Cracker. And then in April, we went to Europe for our first European tour, and we were gone for the month of April. And we flew back from Europe and landed in New Orleans right before Jazz Fest. And I'd been going to Jazz Fest for years, so I'd spent a lot of time in New Orleans.
As a fan?
Yeah,
Watching? Got it.
Yeah, because we weren't before the band really. This was my first time at Jazz Fest after the first record was out, and I went to the festival the first day after we got there and got mobbed. And the things that had been building that spring and winter had happened. It had kind of all coalesced while we were in Europe, so I didn't realize it.
Were you surprised by the mobbing?
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me.
It's like when someone waves at you and you wave back and you realize there's somebody behind you they're waving at.
Yeah,
like you
somebody
think they're running to them.
Somebody wanted a picture and an autograph or something, and then the crowd just gathered and gathered and gathered and gathered and didn't stop. And then later that night, we played Tipitina's, and fits about 800 to 1,000 people in Tipitina's, and there were 2,000 people outside on the neutral ground in the street. They kind of had to close off the street, and we went outside after the show. They had to open. They opened they have these wall doors that slide out, I think, and they opened them up so the crowd outside could hear too. We went outside to play a couple songs acoustically for them after the show, and it was just massive. And that's when I realized, it had happened while we were in Europe, and so whatever buildup there was going to be, we missed it, and we just landed in this thing.
Isn't that crazy?
It was really weird. I mean, that the next few months were very strange. I remember being on tour and being in Birmingham and having a day off and deciding there was a movie theater about 4 blocks from the hotel. And I walked down and I was watching this movie. There's no one in the theater but me. It was weird. It was like an afternoon matinee or something. And this guy comes walking down the aisle and then walks up the row and sits next to me. And I was like, hey.
And the whole empty theater sits right next to it.
He said, hey, I'm a really big fan. I was like, thanks, man. He said, do you mind if I sit here? I'm like, look, I'm just trying to watch a movie. If you don't mind, I just want to watch a movie, And he got up and left. And about 45 minutes later, saw a guy come down the aisle and come down the road to me again. And I was like, God damn it. But it wasn't the same guy. it was the guy that was working the concession stand out there, and he said, "Hey, are you in Counting Crows?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Listen, I don't know what's going on, but there was some guy in here before, and for the last half hour, he's been on the payphone in the lobby calling people, and there's a huge crowd outside. You know, if you want to get out of here, there's like a door at the bottom, like a alley exit." And I said, "Yeah, thanks, man." And I snuck out the alley and walked down the street, and then I heard this noise behind me, and I turned around. There's this massive crowd of people out the front of the theater, and they all start running. And I ran, just ran down the street, got to the hotel, like ahead of this crowd. It was just a little while after Jazz Fest.
You didn't even have the infrastructure to be famous because it all happened while you were gone. You didn't know you landed. It's here, and you didn't have security. You didn't have anything to make sure you were even safe.
No, never really got any of that stuff either. I had a lot of friends in bands who had security. We never really got security out with us or any of that stuff. It just seemed like you could sort of avoid it. It didn't seem to make sense to me walking around with some huge guy next to you. It seemed to invite more attention than anything else. I never really got into that. Even now, at the over the hill age. No, I mean, I don't know. I never really did the security thing. But yeah, I mean, I was just completely unprepared. But the truth is, everybody's unprepared. There's no way to be prepared for that because it's just like it's not like you really do anything. Everybody else just starts acting really weird. And there's no way to prepare for that. It's just like waking up on Mars. You know, you'll get used to the gravity after a while, but it takes a bit.
What's the best Counting Crows song ever, in your opinion?
I don't know.
Your opinion. It's a very vague, open question. But what comes to mind first?
Well, I think Palisades Park is probably the thing I'm proudest of. But I also think that Long December is a perfect song. Long December is the only song that I've never not wanted to play. Like, I'm happy to play that every night. I have been happy to play that every night. I don't think I can say that about any other song. There's no other song we play every night. But I never mind playing Long December. There's something perfect about it and timeless. And I'm really proud of, like, the Palisades Park was really hard to write, and it's a pretty epic thing. I'm really proud of it. It's complicated. It's the height of my art form. But Long December is perfect.
Did you feel that way when you finished Long December?
Yeah. It almost, more than any other song, that one kind of wrote itself. It just felt like I knew where to go with the chords. I knew exactly what it was supposed to sound like. The entire song was written and recorded in under 24 hours. That's like take 6. There's no overdubs.
Do you write melody or lyric first, or how does your brain work with music? Because, you know, a lot of my friends will be like, I have this idea, this is the lyrics. Well, some of my friends will just go, and they'll just attach the words after they do the melody. What is your process?
I've never written lyrics first for a song.
Always melody first.
Or music first. It usually starts with either the music's there first or the music and the words come at the same time. But yeah, I've never written lyrics first because I don't think I'd be able to. Like, to me, there's nothing without the music. So the lyrics kind of are born out of the music.
So, like, when you wrote A Long December, unless you did it at the same time, you know, piano's playing, and you don't really have, it's just music, and then you listen to it, and then you attach, I
think I just did that at the same time. I may have written, once I had the music down, written the rest of the words, but I think I got that verse right there.
I'm a super fan. You probably can't tell, like, I'm so cool right now and, like, just chill, and I'm awesome. You know, just cool, playing it cool, right, guys?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So
yeah.
cool.
Very.
You ever weirded out by
Yes,
super fans? You ever weirded out by
Never
people that are
seen.
too fan of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's why I'm playing it cool, you know?
Yeah.
I'm playing it cool.
Well, also, it's like, I kind of feel like I always want to tell people, you should listen to some other stuff too. Because for me, I love music. It's been my whole life. I spent, the first half of my life the first 20 years as just a fan of everything. I just love music. And then I started making music, which is great too. And I remain someone who's obsessed, geekily loves music. And I just want to shake people sometimes and go, nah, yeah, this is great. I love my records. But you should check out these guys. These guys are great. And these guys and these guys and these guys. And there's just so much. I don't think I could spend all that time listening to one thing. I think our band is great. But it's mostly just that I kind of want to like sit them down and say, you seem really great. You obviously have great taste. You like us. That, you should check out these guys.
I had a real problem with, and I loved Hard Candy, your album, but I'd have to skip to you go to the hidden track. I could hold the forward button down on the CD player. That finally would get to, it finally come up, and it would be the Joni Mitchell song.
Oh, yeah.
Big Yellow Taxi. It was the hidden track when I first bought the record. And I was like, I no one knows about this song. This because any of my other friends are lame and they don't spend the time holding that button down. You can't push it. You got to hold it like middle so it skips, or you have to just let it play forever to get to it. And it was like, boom, and it starts, and I'm like, you guys don't even know what you're missing. I'm cooler than you. Boom. And then it comes out as a single, and you had a Vanessa Carlton. And then I remember the video, she wasn't even with you guys. And I was hurt.
Which part?
That she wasn't with you in the video because they probably recorded it 2 different times.
She was probably on tour. We were on tour.
Yeah. I don't know how I felt about that. How did that come about? Because I felt as a hardcore fan that I was the one that knew the secret that nobody else knew, and then everybody got let in on the secret.
We had kind of this hip-hop acoustic version that we did of Big Yellow Taxi. Guy, I couldn't remember the name right then. And then we wanted to try and do like some remixes of it. And so we went and try and find some people like Pharrell, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. I really wanted to do it with Jimmy Jam, but they were busy when we were doing it. They couldn't do it right then. It was like an acoustic track we recorded. It was just going to be hidden on the end of the record. And when we decided to do a remix version of it, it kind of came sort of late. Ron Fair, who was an A&R guy at Geffen then, but had also just finished producing Vanessa's first album. And I had heard some of it because he had mixed it with Jack Joseph Puig right before we mixed Hard Candy. So Jack was playing me stuff from it, and I thought it was really good. But we had to leave for like some tour in Europe right after we were done with that. And Ron called me and said, hey, I have an idea I know you're trying to find someone to remix this song.
So you were actively looking for someone else to be on the track?
Yeah, because we wanted to do, not someone to be on it, but we wanted to do a remix of it. So we never got to do that kind of stuff, like working with hip-hop producers to take our music and just change it and do something different with it. And Ron called and said, I have a really good idea for this. Would you mind if I sent it to you? Could I try and do this? And I said, sure, go ahead. And he sent it to me, and it was actually really good. So I said, yeah, let's work on this. So he started doing it, but I had to leave to go to Europe for about, a little while before. We had a tour in Europe before the record was coming out. So we were out of the country. And Ron met us in London. He'd almost finished it, and we laid down some more tracks. I changed the ending and sang some stuff on it. And then we wanted to have some women sing on it as well. And we were talking about Norah Jones. We were talking about some different people. I suggested Vanessa because I knew I couldn't be there, and I thought it would be pretty intimidating for someone to sing on one of our tracks. And I didn't want someone to do some kind of flat, boring version of it. But Vanessa had just finished doing a record with Ron. So I thought she'd be really comfortable in the studio with him, even though she was kind of an unknown artist. I just said, why don't you do it with Vanessa, this girl?
That song had 1,000 Miles hadn't hit yet?
I don't think it had. The record wasn't out yet because they were mixing the same time we were. So maybe it had just come out. I'm not sure.
But it wasn't the monster hit.
No, I don't think anyone knew who she was. I just thought I need to find someone who will be comfortable without me being there. So they'll let go and really sing. And I knew she could really sing. I was just afraid someone would be too shy and they would do bland stuff. And so I suggested this woman he'd just worked with. So he went and did that, but then Geffen got on this. They needed to turn the record in right away, and they didn't have time to finish that. So it was not supposed to be a single. It was supposed to be a single like a year later. So that's why we put it as a hidden track. So we put it out on the first pressing and hidden. And the idea was after we go through all the other singles on a record, if we want to put out Big Yellow Taxi, there'll be another pressing. We'll actually list it on the record. It won't be hidden anymore. But then 2 weeks notice came along, the movie, and said, we want to use this song in our film. And we want to put it as a single. We'll make a video. We'll do all this stuff. And so the song came out long before it was supposed to. the problem with that is it was still a hidden track on the record. So no one knew it was there.
Except for me, who got mad that my secret wasn't put out.
You're the only one. You should have told everybody because the problem
How did you
was.
find out?
What'd you say?
How did you know, Bobby, that there was a hidden track?
Because I listened to every freaking second of the whole album over and over again.
And it says the time remaining on it.
Yeah, and it's like I just held it down to get to the end of the track, and then it would start.
I mean, the idea for me was always that people forget your CDs on and that it would just like surprise them. The problem was the song came out and it was a massive hit, but it didn't do anything for the record because it was still hidden. So people would come to the store and they didn't buy Hard Candy because it's not on the record. So it was actually, I get why Geffen was so excited about having the movie to promote it, and they were really in a rush to put out another single, but it sort of backfired on them backfired on all of us because it didn't do anything for the record. It was a massive hit that did nothing for our record at all because no one knew it was still, it was supposed to be out a year later when it wouldn't have been hidden on a different pressing, and Vanessa would have been on it by then and all that stuff, but none of that happened.
All right, got 5 questions left. The Shrek song, which is how a lot of kids would know you, Accidentally in Love, was that written purposefully for that movie, or was it a song that you guys, or that you had already had somewhat and thought this will be right, let's, turn it into that? How'd that come?
No, that was written for the movie. I got a call about doing it. I went over to, DreamWorks, Amblin, Spielberg studio there, and I sat with the director and Michael Austin, I think, and they showed me basically the whole movie, scene by scene. And the ones that weren't finished, they showed me storyboards for it, and we talked it through, and they showed me the scene they wanted and kind of told me the flavor. There was a Weezer song on there originally just as a temp track, I think. So I took home a little DVD of it and went to work on it and wrote it for the movie.
When you watched it, was Chris Farley the voice of Shrek before Mike Myers? When you saw it, because he died, obviously, and they had to change it.
No, it was Mike Myers then. I'm pretty sure. I thought that was a really great thing. I mean, there are very few things in our culture that are timeless. Like not much lasts generation after generation, but like my grandmother saw Snow White, my mom saw Snow White, I saw Snow White. If I have kids, they'll see Snow White. I mean, the one thing in our culture that is multi-generational that lasts forever is a really good animated movie like that. That stuff is timeless. And it's a chance to be part of something. I mean, you have Miles Davis covering Someday My Prince Will Come. That it spans all cultures. I thought that was, as soon as I got the offer, my whole thought was, this is exactly what I want to do. This is like being on a really good Disney film. It was obviously really good. I saw it. I thought it was fantastic. And also as a chance to, get new fans who are younger. And, I was so excited to do that because it'll be there forever. And I'm really proud of the song. And I think the movie's fantastic.
We talked about, before you came in, the tour, and we'll get back to that in just a second. And I've seen you a bunch. Eddie and I went to your show when you were here last time. We were the ones who were cheering.
Standing up the whole time.
We were standing up going, yeah, that was us. So for a long time, every show we would go to, it seemed as you would change melodies of the hits. Is it because you played them so much and you were like, I just can't keep singing it over and over again?
No, I think I did that from the beginning. I think it always seemed like, they just seemed like living things. I feel like the songs are, it's like a coffee filter and you pour your life through it every day. They're all different. I mean, and my perspective on Mr. Jones when I wrote it as something I was like aspirational about is certainly different than my perspective now, having actually lived everything in that song for 30 years.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, you're right.
And that's true of all the songs because they're just things you felt and feel. And so, you experience them a little differently every day. I always felt like this stuff was just, I do think it's why I'm not bored because I've never really, someone said to me a while ago that we should re-record all of our records like Taylor Swift did because then we'd have all the publishing and we wouldn't have to pay, not the publishing, we'd have all the record rights. We wouldn't have to pay the record company anything on it. But I have no idea how those records go. I haven't sang them that way since I recorded them that way. They're kind of, I don't think we'd be very good at that.
I thought the last show, though, was pretty, I felt like there was an effort to like be right. Or maybe I've just heard you sing live so many times that I just feel like that's normal or natural. I didn't feel like there was a lot of change. Did you, Eddie?
No, I didn't.
I feel like it was awesome.
Yeah.
And when you play a song like Einstein on the Beach, which I only had like a bootleg version of it, is it weird that everybody knows the song?
I don't know. That's a song we played once in concert. I mean, it's basically a demo from before we were a band. It was never even attempted for the record. We played it once in concert at this little club in San Francisco, screwed it up, and never played it again.
That's it?
I don't think it's ever been played since that first time. Yeah, I think it's a clever song with great melodies, but I've never loved it. It doesn't do anything for me like inside. So I like it a lot as a fun, clever. It was me trying to write a pop tune. It was like an exercise, but I've never played it again.
That's almost your Radiohead Creep.
Well, they played Creep way more times than we played.
But forever, they were like, we're not doing it. So, okay, look, I'm going to mention the tour again. I mean, in so many of the cities that we're on, I'm going to read some of these off, but everything from, Syracuse, Boston, there's so many shows. Raleigh, obviously the Nashville show you're doing here, and you go to countingcrows.com to see all the shows. New Orleans, I mean, it's all of these cities that we're in, you guys, it's an excellent show, but it just seems like it's so much on the road. And when I tour, I get to go do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then I come back home. I get to do this job. You ever been on the road so much? You're like, why do I even have a house?
Well, I know why I have a house, because I'm on the road so much. It's really good to have a place to come home to. I think the weekend thing would be fantastic. That's what Taylor Swift is doing. She's playing weekends. I think that sounds like wonderfully relaxing. But we're not playing stadiums. We can't do that because we can't afford to do that. I also I've spent a lot of my life on tour. I love playing shows. I love, the people I know best in my life. My band and my crew, a lot of the same people have been there for 30 years, and that's like family. I mean, I'm happy in that life. It's exhausting for sure, but it's a job, it's work, but it's definitely pretty satisfying. I mean, look, I was a kid. Look, like I said, singing Beth to some kids behind school, it's a pipe dream at that point. It is actually how I've managed to support myself in my life. And even after the pipe dream silliness, after I wrote my first songs, I spent 10 years in the clubs, really not knowing if I was going to be able to take care of myself. And I've been able to. And not just myself, but a whole group of people that work with us. I guess I'm very satisfied with it and proud of it. And yeah, I don't know. There are, with anything, there are just times when I'm exhausted, like when I just would rather be home. But it's also a life I'm really used to, and I still love playing shows, I really do.
Counting Crows Banshee season tour with Dashboard Confessional, which he's coming in a couple days.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking. He told me he's coming in like a week or something.
Yeah.
I was talking with him last night. He's coming up to visit me in about a week. Me and Chris and his wife, my girlfriend, Emmer, our guitar player, and somebody else, we're all going to see Taylor Swift in New York together. They're coming up to stay with us.
Do you have to pay for those tickets?
Yeah.
They didn't give you those tickets for free?
Look, I got tickets. I'm fine. I got tickets.
You're just happy you got it to buy tickets?
Look, I understand. It's a business too, especially at that level. It's like you can't be giving out tickets to everybody because it's just too hard after a while. I get that. But I'm happy to support. Although I'd still like to play weekends and be that successful. We've never gotten to quite be that successful. It does seem like a good life.
It's 56 dates. It is kicking off June 13th. You can go to countingcrows.com. Quick note, whenever you did the last EP, the Butter Miracle, I liked it when it came out all at once. I was like, this is the longest song I've ever heard because the whole thing came out and it was all just connected. And then later, but I remember calling Eddie and going, there's a 20-minute song out. You've got to listen to it. And he's like, really? And then I called him back. I was like, wait. Apparently, it was all just tracks. I like one 20-minute song. Let's commit to it now.
Well, it is. It's 4 songs, but they flow together.
Yeah, but all of it was so long. It just felt like a 20-minute song. It was awesome.
It's supposed to feel like a 20-minute song. I mean, in a good way. I was trying to do something like the second side of Abbey Road or the Wild the Innocent, that first side of that. I just wanted to write something that really flowed that way. It's pretty cool in concert, too. It works. I mean, I wasn't even sure it would work. I wrote it to work. But until you're done recording it and you get it all together, I didn't know if it was going to work. That's the most satisfied I've ever been was when we put it all together and it worked. As when the suite worked, I was about as happy as I've ever been about anything creative.
You ever go back and hear an old track and go, man, sonically, I wish I would have done it a different way?
The only things that do that for me are a little bit on the first album. The first album has a little bit of a sheen to it. that I don't always. I love those songs, and I think some of them got better playing them live. All the other records and stuff, I like exactly how it sounds. The first album, which I know is everybody's favorite, but and I love the songs and the work we did on it. It's just some of the stuff I didn't know enough about making records then. It was my first record, and a little bit of that one I think is better. Those songs got better live, and I learned how to sing them a little better after that. The rest of the records, no, I love the way it all sounds. Everything.
Are you a loser if you wear an artist shirt to their concert?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I don't either. But
No.
some people think you're a big loser if you do that.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
Yeah.
You look like an idiot when you do that.
I don't know
Like,
if you should be wearing your own shirt at your concert. Although my tour manager is constantly saying to me, no, if you wore that stuff on stage, we'd sell more merch. But no, I think, you kind of got to, don't you? I mean, you're going to go there, you're going to buy a shirt, and you put it on.
Yes.
I don't know. It's been a while since. No, I know I go to concerts and wear band shirts. I went to Gang of Youth a little while ago. I was definitely wearing a Gang of Youth shirt. For sure.
There you go. It's over. That's over. Eddie, question before we go.
Okay, Adam, so I saw you in Houston. I mean, this was probably early 2000s. And speaking of security, we snuck our way back in there and we made it to your meet and greet.
Ouch. More
And so, but on the way to your meet and greet, I saw
We had a meet and greet?
you did. You were playing with Live.
It wasn't him, dude. Somebody tricked
Before
you.
the show. Before the show.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I saw a really big dude, and you're like, this guy's not normal. Who is this? It's Dennis Rodman. And he was back there. What was that like? And who has just come to one of your shows where you're just like, this is crazy. I never knew he was a fan.
Dennis. Oh, that's like 99. That's a while ago.
Yeah.
Dennis was good friends with the guys in Live, and so I knew him through them. And he had his thing, like Rodman TV back then. And it was like really early internet kind of thing that he had where he had a bus and a bunch of strippers. And he would drive around the country filming like internet content. And it was pretty wild. And he toured with us for a while. Like he came out to visit Live, and then they had their own bus, so they just traveled around with us for a while, like coming to shows and hanging out. I mean, Dennis is a fantastic guy. He's amazing. He's really different. I kind of love how unique he is, and he can be kind of like brash, but also kind of sensitive. And I haven't seen him in a long time, but I loved that guy. He was just wild and fun. We'd go out and do stuff, go to bars. He loved to go to strip clubs, so we'd do that sometimes. We went to one in Atlanta once, like the Cheetah, and he got in an argument with a car in the parking lot.
What? Say that again?
He got in an argument with a guy, but the guy had a car, and the guy tried to drive the car at Dennis, so Dennis just punched the car.
Got it.
Wow.
He punched out the car, a moving car. I will say it was a very impressive moment. I was like, it just doesn't seem like he's going to win that confrontation, but I got to tell you, he did. Punched the car, and he won. And you rarely see that. But Dennis, I just thought he was a fantastic guy, like completely unique and out of place in the NBA in a lot of ways, and just didn't care. Just did his own thing. Yeah, I loved that guy. I haven't seen him in years. He was really good friends with the guys in Live. But I loved hanging out with him. He was crazy.
At Counting Crows, countingcrows.com. The tour, it's almost 60 dates. I will be at the one here. You're playing at the Opry House, which is super cool. But basically every city we're in, you're in. Really been cool to sit with you. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Like this has been, I might have peed a little. I'm just saying it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The last few drops are for the underwear.
Just yes. Ever had to be put alphabetical and stood in line next to Fred Durst?
I don't know if I've stood in line. I mean, I knew Fred back then.
But Duritz, Durst.
Yeah, you'd
in
think.
class, you guys would be called right after each
I'd
other.
be right in front of him.
Okay, there it is. Best question I had. Waited all night for that one. All right, you guys go check out the tour, Counting Crows, countingcrows.com. Adam, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks, you guys.
It's a Bobby Bones show.